So today we're going to talk about why is still a good time to remodel your home. We talked a little bit about this in the last video, but this video we're going to nerd out a little bit. We're going to show some details and run through a little calculation with some interest and whatnot. But I'm joined here today with...
I'm Sam Yoder, mortgage lender and a licensed realtor.
So he'll help us kind of talk through scenarios as it comes to like refinancing and working through mortgages and why it is still a good time to remodel, even with some things that we hear in the news with lumber pricing or with certain things. It's still a really, really great time to do a renovation. So we're going to start by first kind of going through a couple of these graphs. So this first graph, we talk about interest rates right now. So like, isn't this crazy to go from where we were at like 1980 to now?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, rates are at historic lows. They've actually never been lower than they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, back in January, it was the lowest it's ever been all time. And we see like, this is it's insane.
Yeah, and today, I mean, the average 30-year rate today is about 3%. Which is amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so this is a really big talking point that we'll go over today. There's some other things that I think are interesting to note is that overall in the Des Moines market, we're 10% less as far as cost of living goes, and the housing is 17% less than the national averages. Yep. So still knowing that we're still pretty cost-effective housing compared to the rest of the nation, and it's a pretty cool city to live in, easy to commute, we have nice roads, all these different things. And it's still relatively less expensive than the rest of the market. I think that's important to note. Also, this is an interesting graph. So from essentially 2011, there's a little bit of a dip here, but pretty much all increasing in home values since then. Anything else you want to elaborate on?
Yeah, we've had a 10-year run of housing prices continuing to rise, which leaves you, if you've been in your home for any length of time at this point, you're going to have equity in your property.
Yeah, I think the interesting part about that is that yeah, I mean, I think the last year we've had an 8% increase in home value.
Year to year.
And that's really, like, the reason why that relates to a remodel is that if your house has increased in value, that now there's more equity in the home to be able to put into a remodel project.
Absolutely.
And then they project this year to be 10%. And so it's interesting to note that this is, 10% rise or 8% rise last year, but we're still less than the national average as far as housing, 17% less.
Correct.
So there's still room to grow in comparison to the rest of the market, which is, I think, really interesting.
Right, and the projections for this year to year, is going to be almost 10%. It's like 9.7% of the value of your property from today for a year from now, which is pretty crazy. It's a big rise.
It's great for people that are in a home. I mean, it's great to also resell your property if you don't have very much equity into it, if you want to move and build new or do certain things.
Yep.
But also, you're going to buy high too right now.
Correct.
So like, if you're doing a new construction and you can't get what you want in your existing home, then at that point maybe it does make sense to sell. But right now it's also like there's a really good reason to remodel, because if your housing value is increasing so quickly, you're building a lot of equity within your home. Even if you purchased it last year or 2 years ago, you could have 20% equity or more.
It's a great time to take advantage of that equity that you have in your property to do a remodel. So if you've been thinking about doing one for several years, I want to do my kitchen, my wife and myself, we just did a remodel with you guys for our personal kitchen. And it was project we've had it on the docket for about 5 years, and our values went up enough we were able to take advantage of some of our built-in equity and do that project.
Yeah, and I think the coolest part here is like you can take advantage of the rise in price, but also the low interest rates. So like you're double dipping almost at that point of like getting more equity within your home, but getting it for such a cheap interest rate that like it's almost a no-brainer to put more money in your home right now. It really is.
Which is exactly why we did it.
Yeah, yeah. So let's walk through this. We have an example we're going to show to you guys today. Let's kind of talk through that. So let's say I'm one of our customers, or Sam, you're one of the customers, and we want to do a kitchen renovation, or we want to remodel our main floor.
Yep.
And let's say we're going to put $100,000 in this project.
Okay. We're going to do a full remodel.
We're going to do a full gut. We're going to do it upright. We're going to make it look real nice in the end. So let's say, our home value. What's our home value worth?
Oh, let's say our home value, just for this example, let's say $500,000.
Okay. So $500,000
as of today.
Home, as of today. Okay.
Yep. Perfect.
And we're going to put in $100,000.
Yep. We're going to put in $100,000. And let's say you're going to, so basically, when you do, there's lots of different options to access your equity in a property. You basically have three big ones. Well, four. Number one, savings, cash. Cash is great.
Cash is great.
And saving up, that's the way to go.
But with interest rates so cheap, cash is not necessarily the way you want to go.
You don't have to do that.
I wouldn't. But
you don't have to do exactly. You could spend it. You can make 3% on your money doing almost anything else.
Yeah, exactly.
So not a bad time to do something different with that. So if you want to access the equity in your home, a route a lot of people are taking is they've taken advantage of the lower interest rates and they're doing a cash out refinance. So with a cash out refinance on a conventional loan, you can go up to 80% of the value of your property. So let's just say in this example you owe $300,000 on your home.
Okay. So owe 300.
300K.
Okay.
Yep.
Which puts you at 60%.
Yep. And you want to do that renovation. Well, you can actually cash out and lower your interest rate and go up to $400,000 loan size.
So our interest rate at right now, our current interest rate is going to be.
So let's do this. So and most people that have this equity in their property, they may have not refinanced yet. They probably should have over the last couple of years, but they haven't. They're probably sitting around a 4% interest rate. So if you're at 4% on this, your monthly payment's going to be approximately $1,430 principal and interest.
$1,430.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's on a $300,000 loan size.
Okay.
Now, if you want to access that and get that $100,000 out of there, rates today are 3%. So that $400,000 loan is going to be at 3%.
So we're going to spend $100,000 on a remodel.
Yep.
And so now our loan goes up to $400,000.
Yep.
And we're doing the cash out refinance.
In this scenario, yep.
Okay. So $400,000 at 3%.
That's going to be about $1,680 a month is going to be your payment in that option.
Okay.
Now the interesting thing to think here is over the life of your loan on this, you're going to spend $215,000 of interest paid over the whole life of your loan in a 30-year. In this scenario,
yep, so 30-year, okay.
This is a 30-year fixed. This is a basic example.
Okay.
In this scenario, even though your loan size is $100,000 higher, your interest rate is 1% lower. And the life of your loan, you only spend $207,000 on interest over the life of this loan. So you're spending less money on your house over the life of it, and you have $100,000 to do your renovation.
Yeah, so let's say you love a lot of our clients, they love the neighborhood, they love the neighbors, they love everything about their house, but they might want an addition, or they might want their main level renovation. There's a bunch of different scenarios, but you're going to stay here for 30 years, or let's say you stay here for 10 or 20 years, but you're still taking advantage of a ton of savings and interest regardless of the situation.
Exactly.
Not only, also too, like you're increasing the value of your home too.
Yep.
It's like we're not even talking about that yet, but
right.
But like a lot of times, you're spending like. Based off NAHB, they say, depending on the project, and we can look this up, or we can send you a link to this. But kitchen renovations are almost a minimum of $50,000 cost or 50% cost recouped. Usually they're more than that.
Right.
But let's say you're only recouping 50%.
Just as a basic number.
As a basic number, simple math. So you're going to recoup out of the $100,000 you spend, you're going to recoup 50.
About instantly.
So the moment you do it, let's say you're recouping 50.
So you're at $550,000 value.
Yep.
Now.
And then also your home value, especially with Des Moines increasing rates, your home value is, I imagine it's probably going to increase by $50,000.
Yeah, let's say it goes up 10% like they're predicting. Well, if you did a $50,000 kitchen reno, then you did a $50,000, and the average price just goes up 10%, you're already at $600,000. You already got dollar for dollar on your money.
Yeah, and I think that the interesting thing here is your home value is increasing 10% of your home value. So you're increasing by 10% right now, at least year over year-ish.
Yep.
And it could be less in the future, but even if it's 5%, it's 50% every year. So, $50,000 every year. So,
10%, yeah.
2 years from now, you possibly, if it keeps rising the way it is, you just paid for your kitchen renovation.
Yeah.
Also, over 30 years, you were basically given $100,000 for free because, actually better than that, because you're paying less interest over 30 years than if you had the $100,000 sitting in your house.
Correct.
So I think that's the beauty about this compounding interest, and the beauty about interest rates being so low right now. And then you pair that up with rising
values.
Yeah. It's a combination that it almost makes it a no-brainer if you need a renovation.
Which is why we did it. Which is why my wife and I did it.
Yeah.
We chose this time to do it because we took advantage. Our rate was around 4%. We dropped it to right around 3% on our personal example, and we were able to do a $50,000 or $60,000 renovation on our main level, and our value is already up $35,000 today on a new comp.
Yeah, well, and I think the interesting, so you have all this going for you too, but there's also other options too. If you're living in the city of Des Moines, you can apply for a tax abatement. So you literally, you could drop your taxes by $100,000. So over 10 years, if it truly is increasing this quickly, let's say, year over year, you're increasing 10%, and you're like, well, shit, that means I have to pay more taxes. Well, you will, but in City of Des Moines, you can run an abatement. So over 10 years, all of that increase is basically null and void.
Yeah.
So it makes a big difference to have stuff like that. There's also Investius. There's also a lot of other options right now.
There's lots of ways to think about it.
Lots of ways.
So this is just the most basic example of how to access that cash. There's also home equity loans and home equity lines of credit. So let's say you already have that really low interest rate and you just want to take advantage, and you don't need to mess with this 80% number, you just want to do a secondary loan. There's many lenders that I work with who have lots of options on that. One, you can go up to 90% of the value on a home equity loan, maybe even 100% with certain lenders. So you don't even need to do the refinance to access that money. You can take advantage of it right away.
Yeah, so home equity, you said 90 to 100%
of the value of the property.
Of value.
As of today's value, yeah. So you can access all of your equity and do that for your renovation.
And not all lenders will do this, but you also could do like an as-complete appraisal. So we had a customer do this where they were doing a huge renovation. Inside, outside, we added a master bathroom, we added a powder bathroom. Really, really awesome project that we recently posted about. So they were doing a huge renovation. So we did an as-complete appraisal. So assuming we did all these things to the house, and this is what it appraised for, and they were able to capture a lot of equity within their home based off that.
They do appraisal.
So you can, not only you could get $100,000 from the bank out of this in a conventional cash out, but depending on your lender, you could also do an as-complete appraisal if it's a larger project that's really increasing the value a lot.
Yeah, if it's a full gut job or whatever.
Yeah, if it's a full gut, or a situation where you had a house inherited to you or whatever it may be, you can actually do a lot more with that money now.
Yeah, I think what you're basically getting to is that there's lots of options right now to access that equity in your property. And a great way to do that is to contact Nicholas.
Yeah.
He'll get you linked up with the right people to make those decisions. But it is a great time to get stuff done. Even with lumber pricing going up slightly, on the remodel side, taking advantage of that equity in your property now has never been a better time.
Yeah, and so just to touch very briefly on lumber pricing, so we've heard a lot about this in the news and whatnot, but renovation projects typically are not very lumber heavy. Like a kitchen, even if you're removing a bunch of walls, like you're really not that much lumber. Overall, holistically, a new construction home is about 18% of the cost is lumber.
Got it.
That also includes the framing of the house as well.
Got it.
Like the labor. So 18%. But in our renovations, even if it's just a simple like addition project, like we haven't seen, even with the high price right now, we haven't seen over 8%. Of the total cost
for renovation.
So if that means, like, let's say a worst case, the prices keep rising, you're at 10%. So like 10% of the $100,000. Again, this would be more like an addition project, not a kitchen.
Got it.
But 10% of that is lumber, so $10,000. Again, $10,000. And let's say like we're about 2 times high than we have been about a year ago in lumber pricing, a little over that. So if lumber pricing went back to normal, that's $5,000 in savings.
Got it.
So it's not like overall, it's not a huge difference. But if you're talking about interest rates and other things you can do right now, like the $5,000 is pretty minimal in comparison to what you can gain from this.
Which should not prohibit you from taking advantage of the rates.
Yeah. So
by any means.
Again, there has been increasing in some material costs and lumber more particularly, and this graph kind of shows this. But the biggest thing to realize here is that like you have way more benefits to the low interest rates than the compounding of the interest rates.
Absolutely.
So in recap, so we got low interest rates right now, which is huge.
Increased equity.
Increased equity. So your house is increasing in value more than ever has.
Yep.
And I think those are the 2 biggest things we want to point out today, is that those are far offsetting any type of increases in lumber or material pricing that we see currently.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you're in a great place to live.
Yes.
With low cost of living.
Low cost of living. I mean, 17% below and 10% overall. And just cost of living expense.
Yeah.
Des Moines is a great place to live.
Yeah, it's a great place to live. And so if you have any questions or you have any questions about the video, want to reach out to us about a renovation, or want to talk to Sam a little bit more about lending, feel free to reach out to us. We'll put our contact information in the video. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks, Sam.